Hey guys, it's Antigoat, and I have what I believe to be one of the most important tips that will help you succeed in your games of Call of Duty Blackout. Now, if you're looking for some tip that's going to increase your win rate by 25% and is completely mind-blowing, I don't have it, no one has it, the tip doesn't exist. There's nothing that's going to that drastically and immediately improve your game that much. However, I do think that this tip is very important, and it's actually pretty basic, but I think people overlook it because people don't really actively think about it while in their games. However, if you implement it into your game, it will help you across all games no matter what. And to start off, I have a little baby tip that ties into my main tip, and that little baby tip is to be relatively proficient with most of the guns in the game. Now, this should be pretty obvious, but it's so important because due to the innate randomness of Battle Royale modes, you never know what weapon you're going to drop onto. You may love the Vapor and you may be a god with it, and it may be your go-to gun, but it isn't necessarily guaranteed that you're going to get this gun at the start of the match, or in the match at all. This is especially true of many of the secondary weapons and less popular guns in the game, so don't let the fact that you got a bad gun be the reason that your game ends early. And you see this all the time in standard multiplayer. So many people will swear by an ICR or whatever gun and can do pretty well with it, but once you take that gun away from them, it's like they've never played an FPS before. So it's very important that you can be flexible for your loadout in the first place. If you can only rely on a small handful of guns during your match, and you don't get those guns, you're kind of SOL. So I mentioned the mini tip at the beginning of this video because I believe it fits well into the main tip of the video, which is building a balanced loadout. Building this balanced loadout is so important in Blackout because there's so many different situations you can find yourself in, and to be honest, you can't prepare yourself for every single one. One thing you can try to do is to make sure that you prepare yourself for as many possible situations as possible. When I'm looting around mid-game, I often find these strange loadouts where I think to myself, oh, you were carrying a shotgun and an SMG and you had 3 mesh mines. What were you thinking? You never had a chance. So now, obviously, you can't always get exactly what you want, but you can follow some general guidelines to help build your balanced loadout with the resources that you find. The first rule is to understand basic game flow and engagement ranges. Every Battle Royale game brings players closer and closer as the game goes on. This means long-range guns, which is essentially just sniper rifles, become less useful as the match goes on, and close-range guns like submachine guns and shotguns become more useful. Also, despite the map size, most engagements take place at medium and close range, which is due to the fact that the shooting mechanics are not very conducive to long-range fights, and that many COD players just simply aren't used to fighting at these long ranges in general. The second rule is to apply the first rule to your loadout through weapon selection. We can use what we learned from rule number 1 to create a general outline of what our loadout should look like. With the knowledge that most engagements are going to take place close to medium range, the guns you're going to want to take are the ones that are good at these ranges. The one thing that every loadout should always have, in my opinion, is either an assault rifle or some type of comparable tactical rifle, preferably an assault rifle. Once again, this is pretty obvious, most people run with assault rifles. These guns are going to be your standard workhorse weapon that's good at medium range and useful but not particularly dominant at long and short range. My tier list for these guns would definitely be the ICR first, then the Vapor and AN-44 tied, the Maddox, then all the tactical rifles, and then somewhere way at the bottom is the Rampart 17, which I'm pretty sure was put into Blackout as a mistake. To fill the other slot, I would recommend taking something that fills the long-range role or short-range roles. I see a lot of people taking 2 ARs, which I find redundant because they pretty much fill the same role. If you're so hellbent on doing this, though, make sure that they use different ammo types for relatively obvious reasons so you don't run out of ammo very quickly. Also, to use the larger caliber of the weapon, and since all assault rifles are 7.62 or 5.56, your 7.62 rifle as the longer range weapon because it will have a flatter trajectory. Anyways, I would recommend a short range weapon as you will be pushed closer and closer to your enemies throughout the match, especially in the final through circles. All those engagements will be very close. Sniper rifles are fun power weapons to use, but I think you'll get much more utility out of a close range weapon. Plus, it can be kind of a pain in the ass and takes a while to set up a sniper rifle. If you want to take one, I'd recommend an SMG, especially the GKS. A long barrel GKS can be used to fulfill the role of a carbine and can kind of be like an AR SMG hybrid. It'll be more useful more of the time. My tier list of close range guns would be the MOG 12, which I'm going to make a video on that gun. The SG 12, Spitfire, and MX9 are all tied. The SOG 9, GKS, and then the Cordite. All other guns, which is essentially just the LMGs and pistols, aren't necessarily bad, but they just don't fill any roles that any of the aforementioned guns fill. LMGs can have some utilities in squads as a suppression tool, but this kind of leads me into my third rule. The third and final rule is to cut fat by learning to resist taking things that only have very specific uses. This applies to weapon, equipment, and perks. Carrying a Hellion is cool because you might get the chance to shoot down a helicopter, but how often will that happen? Mesh mines and barbed wire can be used to hold down a building, but there's a good chance that that situation will never arise. Things like grappling hooks, 9-bangs, dead silence, awareness, grenades, /Molotov have generic, common, and practical uses that should be prioritized over less useful items. Remember, you have limited inventory space, and carrying generally useful items will fill up your inventory quickly. Don't pass over useful items because your inventory is full and you want to carry a sniper scope on the off chance that you may or may not find a sniper rifle. Be smart with what you carry. If you carry an item often and by the end of the game you still have it, and this happens to you often, you most likely don't need that specific item. So this is the part of the video where I would have created a loadout and been like, hey, this is something along the lines of what you want to build. But to be honest, I kind of feel like that defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to get across. The point of this video is to use the rules I've shown you to build the most effective, best loadout you can with what you're given. You're probably not going to find your favorite weapon, it's very unlikely, with the best attachments that you want to put on it, but if you set yourself up to succeed in as many scenarios as possible, you can maximize your chance of coming in first place. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this video interesting and useful, and if you did, please leave a comment and maybe think about subscribing for more content from me. Also, let me know in the comments what your ideal loadout would be in Blackout, and if you plan on implementing any of these tips into your matches. Anyways, hopefully, I'll see you guys later.